New presidents usually enjoy a lot of pomp and circumstance. There's usually a procession up the Champs-Élysées and lots of grandstanding, but not this year. Remember, Macron is the first president in 20 years to get a second term in office, and he wanted to convey the sense of business as usual. And so he made a 10-minute speech. It was a very humble one, and he pledged that he wanted to serve the French people, and he used the word to act a lot. So he urged everybody, in fact, to act to deal with emergencies such as the climate crisis or indeed the war in Ukraine. And the French president is, of course, the head of the armed forces. So there was a 21-gun salute, but that was it, really. There was no such thing as events that were planned and no crowds that could gather during the day either to cheer him on or indeed to protest against him. And instead there was a lot of booing and whistling at him when he attended the French football final cup on Saturday evening. But there was a lot of trouble on May the 1st when May Day rioters caused an awful lot of rampage in Paris and indeed in cities across France. And you can expect a lot more of that in the next 5 years. Remember, too, that it will be Macron's last 5 years because French presidents can only serve 2 terms. But I can assure you we can expect to see Marine Le Pen standing for election in 2017. So that's quite ironic.
Nabila, the divisions that led to the rise of Le Pen and the Front National, and I'm talking particularly about that part of France, if you like, the left behinds, the type of communities that voted for Brexit in Britain, people affected in a negative way by globalisation. I mean, the Gilets jaunes, obviously, probably the embodiment of that. Those problems haven't gone away, have they? Do you see over the next 5 years Macron bringing people together, or do you think France is going to become more polarised?
Well, he did pledge that he wanted to unite France, but there's already...
All leaders pledge that, don't they? Actually doing it is the key, isn't it?
There's already a lot of criticism. People haven't forgotten about, the fact that France is racked with division. He's still labelled as a president of the rich. He's seen as very smooth with the rich middle classes, for example. I mean, the second terms is usually when politicians get their hands dirty as well. So you can expect Macron to push through some very unpopular reforms. For example, he wants to increase the retirement age from 62 to 65. He also wants to reduce the cost of employing people for businesses, so threatening workers' rights and making it easier to remove some of their privileges, especially for state workers. And this will, of course, lead to a lot more unrest. And already people are annoyed that he's pledged money for Ukraine, for example, when French people are complaining about the cost of living and similar issues.
I think one of the things I'm kind of curious about is obviously Macron has been quite anti-Britain in recent years, clearly not a fan of us leaving the European Union. But do you expect, now that he doesn't kind of need to appeal to an electorate, that those tensions will increase, or do you think he might tone it down and we might have a more constructive relationship? Well,
I think we can expect a lot of friction still, but it is hoped that there will be a more grown-up relationship between Britain and France. There were lots of unpleasant word exchange on both sides, and some of the issues will remain, not least of all over Brexit. Remember, Macron called it a crime very early on, and issues such as fishing rights for French people in the English Channel will remain, and the issue of small migrant boats also across the Channel. But it is hoped that there will be a more mature and indeed grown-up relationship where serious matters can be resolved.